Crippled Reading Vlog 14. I cannot believe we are all the way to the 14th episode of this. I was going to do like 3 or 4 of these, but I am glad I did to chronicle my read through this great book, Crippled God. I had a little bit of insomnia, unfortunately, last night, so I read a lot. 2 chapters to the end of book 6 is where we're going to cover here, so that's going to be chapters 15 and 16, and a great couple chapters they were. Let's get into it. 15, first of all, I said this earlier when the battle at the first shore started. This whole storyline is amazing. On reread, it is definitely something I'm excited to see develop more, knowing this is the end point. This is quickly becoming one of the best battles in the series as a whole. Scene after scene after sequence of great action, but also really meaningful moments and losses that I didn't even think it would affect me so much, but it did. I also can't remember, I think most of the big battles, obviously famously Yucatan, but I even think Capustan and Coral, I think primarily are 1 chapter or 2 chapters that are like consistent. It's interesting that this battle is working its way through sort of in smaller chunks as other things are happening. And I think that's really great for the way this book is laid out, where a lot of the other storylines are not quite at a point of action or I mean, a lot of our characters right now are wandering in different locations. So to have this excellent battle sprinkled through instead of just one chunk in the middle, I think is a great way to organize this, whether that was Erickson or an editor. I think that was smart. The battle itself is amazing. I love the Hust sword, that it just laughs when it's killing dragons. Oh man, Yadan just like going at it. He is quickly becoming one of my favorite people in the series. Has to do what he's got to do, and he's gonna do it. When he throws the hound head back through the rent is awesome, and it's equally cool that we are seeing all that he's doing and like amazed by it, love it, like am touched by it. And then we also get the interesting perspective from the other side, the Tistleosan, like their growing fear at like this amazing one warrior, and they're like, it has to be a whole legion of these Hust warriors because of how this guy is fighting, killing dragons, their loss as well. The loss of, I believe it's Pithy. Oh man, Pithy and Brevity get mixed up. Hold on, let me check. Yeah, it's Pithy. When Pithy dies, I was not expecting that to hit me as hard as it did. She has not been one of my favorite characters in this series. I mentioned before that she was starting to be like a more interesting character in this battle, but even before the battle's done, she now dies. But it was very touching. And to have Brevity look on, and for Yadan to say it's no easy thing to earn that, as the warriors like carefully carry her body from the battlefield. And to see the admiration of those underneath her for this woman. I'm following for a good amount of time, but again, I didn't feel like a lot of emotion was put into her, but Erickson knows how to pull on those heartstrings so well. It was really touching. And it was, again, another brilliant way of Erickson not dwelling or glorifying war and gore, because as much as there are amazing moments of like killing dragons and killing hounds, like we see the pain both on the Tistleosan side of things, but also like the loss of Pithy and these other soldiers, and that like, sure, it's a victory, but I think actually it is Yadan earlier in this book who said victors never really win because they've had to go through this terrible thing. Maybe it's Udanas, I can't remember exactly who says that, but that's a point I think that Erickson is making in the series as a whole about war, even in the midst of like, as I just said, this amazing battle scene. The point is still made that battle and war are not good things. We shouldn't long for these things or relish in them. Also in the midst of this, we get Calor, the story of him going to the Tistleosan, and it's just this added chapter to this man's story. We get small little windows into Calor, and it's interesting. He was like enemy number 1 after Memories of Ice and killing Whiskey Jack, but now at this point in the series, we just feel sorry for Calor, which is interesting because I think that's how like Anomander, Rake, and for the most part Kaladin Brood felt about him. At the end of the days, a tragic story, and the more you hear about it, the more I feel for Calor, which I feel kind of weird saying. Let's go to chapter 16. Tulas Shorn and Silkus Ruin meet, and that's a really, again, two characters that I was not like drawn to, but I was touched by their reunion and this true friendship through centuries that has survived despite them going very different ways. Silkus Ruin stuck in the Azeth house and, well, Shorn being dead. They are now reunited, and it was a very touching scene. And weird to see Silkus Ruin joking about whorehouses, like so against type for what he has been. And you're reminded that this was a real person before all of this other stuff happened and the Kettle storyline and all that. There's this hint about this terrible secret that Rake kept for centuries, Anomander Rake, and we don't know what it is, and I don't think Eric is going to tell us in the series. This is just one of those examples of, like, it's a story within this story, but we're not going to touch on it. I imagine in Karkanos trilogy this is going to be a key point, but obviously we're not talking about that here. Udinav's finally getting to talk to his son through this like connection that they have. I really like and appreciate. Loved that conversation, especially because we see like all this other stuff is happening in the background. And again, another story that we're not being told in this book, because it's not the story we're following, but it is a story and an important one with Udinas and the Imas and Saren. All of those storylines are sort of happening in the background. We're not hearing about them, but we know that they're progressing now. Udinas is safe, but he's back in Lether with Saren trying to figure out a plan to save the Imas and protect Saren's son. We get our obligatory Gruntle check-in. Again, I don't know what it is because I really loved Gruntle in Memories of Ice and then the couple other sort of small hints we have at him. But like, I'm just not drawn into this, him as Mortal Sword trying to destroy this panther. Obviously we know it's Kilava, which I think there was hints of it before. There wasn't like a huge reveal, but even so, I don't know. I just can't, this storyline is just not grabbing me. What did grab me is the Mappo going through Icarius storyline. Like, I don't, maybe because I was having insomnia and I was reading this at like 2 to 3 in the morning, but like all of these emotional beats hit me so powerfully. Like I was having like tears in my eyes multiple times in these chapters. And Mappo, with already this great grief and load on his shoulders, coming to Icarius and having that guilt thrust upon him, and this really powerful and painful poem from Bedell, just like hitting him like a fist. Like it worked on me as the reader, also hitting him as a fist. That like he made a necessary choice, but that didn't mean that it was right, and it's still with this theme of like not protecting children, just like eats away at him, and he literally flees from this city. It's a brutal, hard scene emotionally to read, but I think it does resonate very deeply. How could I have forgotten the Krupp storyline? When Torrent like wanders in the Warren and he comes across like a round figure read, and I was reading that, I was like, oh, this reminds me of Gardens of the Moon, like Krupp streams, and then boom, it is Krupp. Love that so much. I don't think we're gonna get an answer to this, but it's so interesting, the question of who is Krupp. It seems like he might be an elder god, like he's tight with Kerul, and he's in this warren that Byrne just has them in. I don't know who he is. I don't think we're getting an answer, but I just love Krupp so much. Hilarious. Krupp is so delightful, and he gives weapons to Torrent, which I imagine will be very important. The last time he gave something to someone was the Maybe, which preserved her for the ending of Memories of Ice, which we all know. Gifts from Krupp are always important narratively, and I think that's going to be the case here as well. I think Torrent's probably going to be the one who, well, I don't know, he's gonna serve some very important purpose, which I think will be fantastically poetic. Finally, again, this very sad scene between Kilimandros, Erastus, and Knuckles. They have done what they wanted to do, executed this plan perfectly, but there's like a sorrow to them that, again, no one is going to win in this battle. And it's just, it brings fury to you, the petulance that brought about this plan that they just want to return to power, and that really it is futile, and it's just the mortals that are going to suffer. And it's frustrating, but still, in a way, the Kilimandros story is sorrowful. So thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe. Let me know what you think of these chapters. I'm going to go into book 6 next reading vlog, to One in Chains, which I think sounds like we're finally going to get some Fallen One perspective. First in, last out.